All right, artists, we've done a wonderful job creating all different kinds of line together. If you watched the second video, you saw that I put this basket line right here on my project. Having this basket line here was a great way to finish up, doing 3 horizontal and 3 vertical lines. 3 horizontal and 3 vertical. And I continued that all the way across my paper to make what looks like a woven basket. I hope you came up with something that you're proud of too. Now we want to talk about how these kinds of lines can give you the impression of an emotion, or they can do what's called depicting an emotion. And when we create certain lines, we might feel happy or joyful while we create them. Some lines might make us feel silly or confused. And then there are definitely lines that could convey anger or frustration. So what we're going to do is take a new piece of paper and break it up into 8 rectangles so that we can show 8 different emotions. Just like on the second video, that extra practice video from our first day of line, take your paper, turn it horizontally, remember, horizontal is the sideways chop, and fold it in half. Then, vertically, just like this chop, you are going to fold it and fold it again. When you open this piece of paper, what you will have are 8 rectangles that are very similar in size. It might be tough to see on your screen or even just in front of you, so what you're going to want to do is take that marker or that pencil and go over your fold lines so that you can see them really well. I'm going to flip my camera view so that when you see the names of these, you can understand it a little bit better. So the first rectangle here, we are going to put a word in there, something that shows an emotion. Happy could be what we want to write here. H-A-P-P-Y. If you do not know how to spell, or you do not know how to write those letters, it is perfectly fine. You can follow along. Next to it, I'm going to write sad. Another emotion that lines can show you is angry, calm, silly is another emotion. Over here, I'm going to use a big word and I'm going to write thoughtful. And what I mean by that is if you are taking your time to think about something, or maybe something's kind of tricky for you, and you have to spend some time on it. So a thoughtful line might be something that's a little bit more difficult, or something that requires you to think about it for a while. Down here, I'm going to write strong. And opposite of that, I'm going to write weak right here. You can pause the video right now if you need to follow along with these words and you want to write them on your own paper. But if you don't and you want to just draw the lines, that's okay too, if you can try and remember which lines were in which rectangles. So if I'm going to be writing happy here, I need to design some happy lines. When I think of a happy line, I think of something that's bouncing and joyful. Maybe it's even still showing happiness, still showing a lightness, but I'm not keeping the exact same bump. I'm making it a little bit varied. I think loops show happiness or joy. And remember, if those are tricky for you, you can practice drawing it with your finger first. When I think of a sad line, I might decide that I want to do something that's just not a whole lot going on. Just kind of feeling bluesy. Maybe it's a brokenish line. Maybe it's a line that has a big gap in it. Something that just doesn't feel quite right. That's how you could depict sad. To show anger, you might want to have lots of angles That zigzag line, that's a good way to show anger. It kind of reminds me of teeth or something that's saying "rawr" kind of thing. Another way to show it is to show angles that are going on top of or through each other. That's called intersecting. And straight lines, I think, and different kinds of angles. But again, it's not a scribble. It's very intentional. If I want to show calm, the calmest line I can think of is a horizontal line. I could add a little bit of bump to it, maybe like sand dunes, something like that, or possibly even just a little bit more. But again, nothing too crazy and nothing too angry, just a pretty chill line. Silly, on the other hand, is very different. When I think of silly, I think of that squiggly, twirly, whirly line. I think about just being a goofy person. Another thing for silly is doing loops upside down. Reminds me of something bouncing, maybe like Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. That's what that kind of reminds me of. Or something that's just kind of whimsical. Nothing quite exact about it. That can be silly as well. Now remember, this is our big word, thoughtful. And thoughtful would be a line that required me to think about it. I know when I do the castle line, I have to do a lot of thinking so that I don't make any mistakes. I'm going to try that one. Over, down, over, up. Over, down, over, up. Over, down, over, up. Over, down, over. So I'm being thoughtful and particular about this, trying to keep my boxes the same size. Another one which takes it kind of a step further is the step line. You can see it's very similar to the castle line, but I'm going up steps. So I go over, down, down, over, up, up. And then you go off the page. So something like this would be a really great thoughtful line because I have to really think about it in order to achieve it. Now, when I think of a strong line, I think of something that's thick, that can hold things that are heavy. So I am definitely going with a line that maybe has some hard angles on it. But then what I'm going to do to depict strong is double that line and color it in so that it's a thicker line. When I think of strong, I think of thick. Notice I'm being very careful as I'm coloring this in so that my angles are still staying there. I don't want to color this really quickly and lose all of my angles. Our last area, and well, you know what, I think I'm going to do a little bit more here. I feel like just adding a little bit more. But again, it's showing angles and it's showing thickness. And maybe even something down here. Like it's nice and stable. Nothing's going to blow over or knock down. It is nice and stable. Okay? Weak is our last line. And weak is not a bad thing. Weak can be beautiful. Our lines that are weak might be really delicate. I kind of think about like a chain on a necklace that isn't really thick and strong. It's more delicate. So again, I'm just going to kind of keep that line thin and light. And look at the difference. Look at the opposite here. Okay? Just like the opposite up here. There's definitely different ways you can depict different emotions by the lines that you make. Keep working on it, and we'll have another video to show you what you can do next.